Have you ever wondered what it's like to be an international student in Canada? You're about to embark on a journey, an exploration of sorts, into the lives of these brave adventurers. They face a myriad of challenges, ones that often remain unseen to the untrained eye. These range from the cultural shock of being uprooted and planted into a new, unfamiliar society, to the language barriers that can make simple tasks seem like mountainous obstacles. Let's not forget the financial issues that come with managing tuition fees, living expenses, and often the pressure of supporting families back home. And then there's the academic pressure, the constant need to excel, to stand out, to prove oneself. Understanding these challenges is not just important, it's necessary. For it's through understanding that we can extend a helping hand, a sympathetic ear, or a comforting word. These challenges, though unseen, can have a profound impact on the lives of international students. Let's uncover these challenges together. Consider the case of Maria, a student from Mexico, who had to navigate the cultural differences in Canada. Maria, like many international students, found herself in a whirlwind of new experiences and challenges when she first set foot in Canada. One of the most striking differences was the weather. Accustomed to Mexico's warm climate, she was not prepared for the frigid Canadian winter. She had to learn how to dress in layers, and the concept of a wind chill factor became all too real. Then there was the food. Maria missed the familiar flavors of her home country and had to adapt to a new cuisine. Poutine, a popular Canadian dish, was a mystery to her, and she had to cultivate a taste for it. It was a small but significant part of her journey towards cultural assimilation. But perhaps the most challenging aspect for Maria was understanding and adapting to the social norms. Canadians have a reputation for being polite and reserved, which was a stark contrast to the more expressive and passionate culture she was used to back home. She had to learn to navigate these social nuances, understanding when to say sorry, even if it wasn't her fault, or how to graciously accept a compliment without dismissing it out of modesty. These experiences, while seemingly trivial, underscored the importance of cultural understanding and adaptation. It's not just about learning a new language or acing academic tests. It's about understanding the culture, the people, their customs, and their way of life. It's about finding a balance between preserving one's own cultural identity while embracing the new. Cultural adaptation is not a one-size-fits-all process. It's a personal journey that takes time, patience, and a willingness to step outside one's comfort zone. And while it can be challenging, it can also be incredibly rewarding. Maria's story illustrates the challenge of cultural adaptation that many international students face. But it also highlights the growth, resilience, and broadened perspectives that come from navigating and embracing cultural differences. And that, in itself, is a significant part of the international student experience. Then there's Ahmed, a student from Egypt who had to overcome language barriers. Imagine this. You're an expert in your field, but you're studying in a language that isn't your mother tongue. That was Ahmed's reality when he first arrived in Canada. English was his second language, and while he was proficient, academic English was a completely different ballgame. Ahmed's struggles were not unique. He grappled with complex academic texts, puzzled over colloquial phrases, and spent hours deciphering assignment briefs. It was like learning to navigate a maze in the dark, where every turn was unfamiliar and confusing. But Ahmed was determined. He was aware that language proficiency was not just about acing exams or writing essays. It was about engaging in meaningful discussions, understanding cultural nuances, and being part of a vibrant community. So he rolled up his sleeves and decided to tackle this challenge head-on. Ahmed started by seeking help from the resources available at his university. He attended English language workshops, sought guidance from his professors, and even joined a language exchange club where he could practice conversational English with native speakers. He also made an effort to read extensively outside his course material, from novels to newspapers, to familiarize himself with different writing styles and expand his vocabulary. Slowly but surely, Ahmed began to see progress. He could understand his lectures better and participate more confidently in class discussions. His assignments no longer felt like insurmountable mountains, but challenges to be conquered. Ahmed's journey wasn't easy, but it was worthwhile. He not only improved his academic performance, but also built lasting friendships and gained a deeper understanding of Canadian culture. Through his tireless efforts, Ahmed turned a barrier into a bridge, connecting his world with the world around him. It's important to remember that language proficiency goes beyond the classroom. It's a tool that empowers us to connect, to communicate, and to comprehend the world from different perspectives. And for international students like Ahmed, it's a critical part of their journey in a new country. Ahmed's journey shows the struggle and triumph over language barriers. Let's not forget Li, a student from China, who experienced financial struggles. Li, like many international students, found herself in a financial quandary. The costs of studying abroad can be daunting, with tuition fees, accommodation expenses, and living costs all piling up. For Li, these costs were more than just numbers on a page. They were a constant, looming presence in her daily life. Li juggled part-time jobs alongside her rigorous academic schedule, often working late into the night after her classes. She was always on a tight budget, meticulously planning her expenses, and often having to forgo certain conveniences and comforts. Eating out at restaurants, going to movies, or even buying a cup of coffee was a luxury she could rarely afford. This financial strain took a toll on Li, not just materially, but emotionally and academically as well. The mental toll of financial stress is something that's often overlooked. For Li, the pressure of making ends meet was a constant distraction, pulling her focus away from her studies. She found herself caught in a cycle of stress and anxiety, her financial worries feeding into her academic concerns and vice versa. Li's situation is not unique. Many international students grapple with financial concerns. They often come from different economic backgrounds, and the cost of studying in a foreign country can be a significant burden. Even with scholarships or financial aid, managing finances in a new country can be a daunting task. The cost of living, exchange rates, and unexpected expenses can all add to this financial pressure. But there's more to this story than just the struggle. This is also a tale of resilience and resourcefulness. Despite her financial difficulties, Li persevered, finding ways to stretch her budget and make the most of her resources. She learned to cook her meals, picked up freelance work, and found creative ways to save money. It wasn't easy, but she managed. Li's experience underscores the financial hurdles that international students often have to overcome. It's a reminder that behind the dream of studying abroad, there are real challenges that students face. And while these challenges are tough, they are not insurmountable. With determination, resourcefulness, and support, students like Li can and do overcome them. Lastly, meet Raj, an Indian student who dealt with intense academic pressure. Raj was an ambitious young man, brimming with dreams and aspirations. He left his hometown in India to pursue higher studies in Canada, full of hope and excitement. But little did he know, he was about to face a whirlwind of academic challenges. Raj was no stranger to hard work. Back home, he was a top student. But here in Canada, he found himself in a pool of equally talented and driven individuals. The competition was fierce, the standards were high, and the expectations even higher. Raj was not only expected to excel academically, but also to master a new language, understand a different culture, and navigate through the complexities of living independently in a foreign land. The academic pressure was amplified by these additional challenges, making it seem like an insurmountable mountain. Raj felt an immense burden to succeed. He feared letting down his parents who had invested their life savings in his education. He feared being seen as a failure by his peers back home. This fear, this pressure, it consumed him. He was constantly stressed, anxious, and overwhelmed. His grades started to slip, and his self-confidence began to waver. But Raj refused to let these challenges defeat him. He decided to take a step back and reassess his situation. He sought help from his university's counseling center and joined a support group for international students. He learned to manage his time better, to prioritize his tasks, and to set realistic goals. He practiced mindfulness to cope with stress and started incorporating regular exercise into his routine. Slowly but surely, Raj began to regain control of his academic life. He learned to balance his studies with his personal well-being. He started to understand that it's okay to struggle, it's okay to ask for help, and it's okay to take a break when things get too overwhelming. Raj's story sheds light on the academic pressures international students often grapple with. But more importantly, it reminds us of the importance of resilience, self-care, and seeking help when needed. After all, success is not just about acing exams, It's about growing, learning, and thriving amidst challenges. These stories offer a glimpse into the lives of international students in Canada. Imagine walking a mile in their shoes. Picture yourself trying to navigate new cultural norms. It's like learning a whole new dance, isn't it? One where you're not always sure about the rhythm or the steps. But with time and patience, you learn to waltz through these cultural differences, and it becomes a part of your daily routine. Then there's the language barrier, a towering wall that stands in the way of communication. It's like trying to solve a complex puzzle, where the pieces are words and phrases in a foreign tongue. Yet with determination and practice, the wall crumbles, and students find themselves conversing fluently, expressing their thoughts with ease. Next, imagine the financial struggles, a storm that often looms over the horizon. Picture the pressure of managing finances, juggling part-time jobs, and maintaining academic performance. It's a balancing act that requires skill and resilience. And let's not forget the academic pressure, a mountain that students must climb. It is a steep path riddled with challenges, from rigorous coursework to high expectations. It's not just about surviving, it's about thriving, and that requires grit and perseverance. Yes, the journey of an international student is filled with challenges, but it's also a journey of growth and discovery. These challenges are real, and they shape the experiences of thousands of students who choose Canada as their educational home. It's important for us to understand these hurdles, not just to sympathize, but to empathize, to not just see, but to comprehend the struggles they face, the resilience they show, and the victories they achieve. By acknowledging these challenges, we can foster a more inclusive atmosphere, one that encourages cultural exchange and learning. We can provide support, whether it's through language programs, financial aid, or mental health resources. By understanding these challenges, we can help create a more inclusive and supportive environment for international students in Canada. And in doing so, we're not just making their journey easier, we're enriching our own cultural understanding and creating a vibrant, diverse academic community.